beat is fire. Not.
It's super fire.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Set Apart podcast with Ren and Dee Dee. He is Ren and I'm Dee Dee. Just welcome. We are so glad that you're here. This is where we talk about everything and nothing at the exact same time, which is what we like to do. It's a good time. So everything from culture to faith and everything in between. I said everything a lot in that one sentence, but I'm curious about everything.
And everything.
But anyway.
And nothing at the same time.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
Welcome to the show. I want to get started off with something that I feel like everybody talks about a lot in the month of January. But this is always a conversation I think you need to have throughout the year. And so here's my two questions. And of course, we're going to start with the one and only Dee Dee on answering these questions. My questions is two questions. One, do you have a word of the year? A lot of people have resolutions. A lot of people have goals. But is there one word that you say can embody what you're aiming at this year? And two, the second question is, what is one goal in 2023 that you want to accomplish? You put on the spot. What you got?
So my word is actually a word that is not new, but it had to be revisited. And that word is execute. So that's my word for the year. And the reason that that's my word is because I am somebody who has a lot of vision, and I write things down all the time when they come to me or I forget. But I think now is the year to go back through my notes and let's execute. So I have the vision. I got the mission. It's time to get to work. There's no reason I should be cautious. There's no reason I should be afraid. There's no reason that I should be wondering or worried. It's all written down. If somebody else read it, if I wasn't here anymore, it would be very clear. So it's time to execute.
I love that. Okay. And if it's one goal out of this whole year that you could accomplish, what does that look like for you?
I was nervous about this question because I don't like sharing my business because people say my stuff. But I think it's to say there are a couple of books in me that need to be out of me. And one of them in particular, I won't say what it's about, but I have a goal of getting that done in the first quarter.
Okay, good. That's good. That's amazing. I think for me, it would be my word of the year is balance. I think so much that we try to get better at this, get better at that, get better at this, and then we find out that we have a pie chart, right? We give all of our attention to the areas that need help, but then we end up suffocating the places that we've been consistent in. And so my word of the year is balance. How do I have an approach to everything that I do, giving the effort that is respectful of that area, that I can continue to grow in every single area and not just suffocate one area in hopes of growing another area. So balance is my word of the year. Something that, of course, is very under wraps. I mean, I don't like real G's move in silence like lasagna. I'm not going to tell you where I got that quote from, but I need y'all to understand that is some truth. Okay. If you don't know, now you know. But I've been going through to last 6 months, I want to say. I've been doing bass guitar lessons. And so it's not only to be proficient at that, probably by the summertime, but also to take up then a different instrument coming, after summertime, to try to be proficient in that. I think it's always been a place where I've been curious about. My father played 5 instruments.
Wow.
And whereas I can beatbox, you give me a pen, a number 2 pencil, I'm tearing it up on the tables. But that's something that I want to pour myself into. Not so much in the sense of going into join a band and hitting the road, but in the sense of I always want to make sure that I'm in a place where I am growing and learning new things. And also for those little um, third graders, fourth graders, the people in elementary school who's in a band class, and maybe you're like, oh, I play the flute. No, listen, that is a skill. Hone that skill. You're going to
Yeah.
be so much more proud, or so much more just full feeling when you get older, when you understand that you've seen it through that process. You were bad at one point in time, and you went through the steps to become proficient. And just seeing something through the end also has its benefits. So there it is. That's the word of the year. That's the goal in the year from Dee and Ren. So
Yeah.
let's get into our topic. What you got? What you got for our topic today,
Before we
Dee?
go there, let me just you brought back a memory
Okay.
of mine.
Okay.
So, fun fact about me is I play a few instruments.
Okay.
And you ain't gotta single me out. Let's just because this is just us talking. So I yeah, so I think when I was 7 or 8, I started taking piano lessons. Oakland, California, 103rd Street, Mitch Richardson. I love you, rest in peace.
Mm,
So this is like you go to her house, sit
okay.
on the piano in the living room, sit beside her on the bench, and she's teaching slash slapping your knuckles with a ruler. She was the truth. And she had Oregon right next to it, but I didn't graduate to Oregon. So when I was 8 years old, I'm the oldest of 3 at the time. Now there's 4 of us.
Okay.
They came along, and my parents were like, "You're gonna have to choose that or basketball
Mm,
because we got kids,
hmm.
and you
Yeah.
can't."
Yeah. You're right.
So I chose basketball. However, 2 Christmases later, I got a Yamaha keyboard, and I was the happiest little girl ever. I begged for that thing, and I kept my books from Miss Richardson, and I remember my chords, my scales. So I kept messing around with it. I wrote a couple songs and all that good stuff. So then transition to middle school, ain't no keyboard in the band. So
Mm,
I had to I really wanted percussion, and then I ended up getting saxophone. So
okay.
it's easy. Saxophone, you got to remember them scales, got to remember the notes, how to read music. So I did
Hmm.
saxophone from 7th grade to 9th grade, and I did percussion 8th and 9th, and then I had to choose between varsity band, varsity basketball.
Mm. They
So
tried to Troy Bolton you.
listen,
They tried to Troy Bolton you, Dee.
let me just tell you something. Marching band, because that's when we moved to Texas. Marching band in Texas is not a extracurricular; it's a part-time job.
I don't got that. I don't got the calves to march and band.
Listen,
I ain't got the wind in me.
but as a freshman, on percussion, you just in the pit anyway, so you don't even get to march, but you gotta do all the work and you just on the sideline,
Ooh.
moving marimbas and heavy stuff. But you gotta be there for all the stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm finna get on this court. So I quit. But I still messed around on the keys. I still messed around on percussion. I don't do the woodwinds anymore, but I was into that heavy. So there's my
Okay, here's my question for you then. Did you learn the flight of the bumblebee? Did you learn the flight of the bumblebee?
listen. Where I went to school, that was not on the agenda. Okay.
Oh, okay.
It ain't
No
like,
flight of the bumblebee.
but the drum line they was lit. They used to come in the cafeteria from time to time and put on a show, and that's why I did percussion. And there was one other black girl, and I was like, yeah, that's me. But then I quit.
Okay, so they tried to Troy Bolton you. I'm telling you, they tried to. That's a verb.
They did though,
Um, they
but
did. Okay.
luckily basketball worked out. So, but yeah, that reminded me of that what you said about seeing something through, and music. Learning music is such a hobby that keeps on giving. I'll just put it like that.
Right. Yeah, it matters for
And
sure.
it trains your ear to hear stuff that other people don't hear when you're listening to music casually. So yeah.
Yeah, it matters. It matters. It's so to me, it's something that like I think as kids, as me, at least I can speak for me as a kid, I was so fixated on sports. I was so fixated on honestly just surviving school. I wasn't the best student,
Mhm.
at a age. Um, I think until college I didn't learn how to apply myself. Like, oh man, I can be good in my sports area, but also apply myself in the classroom. Wow, like this is what it takes. So I didn't learn that until college, but man, boy, do I wish that I could go back and tell little Ren to say, hey, like, because I did trumpet in the third grade. Like,
Okay.
hey man, like stick with it, stick with it. You gotta ear. Like, a lot of times, you know how they say common sense ain't common. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
having rhythm is not a common thing. Not only having rhythm, seeing pattern, like
Americans back.
listen, some
Everybody
people,
ain't born with it.
everybody ain't born with it. People think, oh man, you black, you got a good beat. No, no, listen, it's not like that. I know people who are struggling. But
Mm-hmm.
no, it's a gift. Use and then that's why I say that I am a big component of use the gifts that God gave you to be you. You don't have to put yourself into a box. You don't have to only be the music player. You don't have to only be the sports player. God gave you gifts.
That's real.
Be you.
Use them all.
That was a segue we weren't even ready for.
Listen, use them all. Use them all. Shoot, that's how I feel.
Use them all.
Sorry for that little distraction, but yeah, we got a good topic though. This is kind of a continuation on this conversation that we've had before. But I think I just got tired of being on the hot seat, really. So this is a little revenge, but not really. But I think it's gonna be a good conversation. But we've been talking about dating and relationships, and I mean, how can you not? It's
Mm-hmm.
there is so many voices out there right now. So I wanted to kind of bring a different angle. One reason is that it has been my observation that there is a segment of the population of women and a segment of the population of men that kind of took over social media in a way that seems like if you didn't know any better, we don't like each other.
Hmm.
What I mean is, we talk so nasty to each other. We bash. We call out everything that's wrong. We when people are happy, we make fun of it or say, "Oh, that ain't real. That ain't they ain't posting their real stuff. That's just fake. Oh, he ain't
Right.
posting nothing about you." Now, whether or not that's true, why do we do that? And it would almost
Mm.
appear like we actually don't want to be in relationship with each other because we are always at each other's throats. And to me, that's counterintuitive.
Right.
Why would I down you and then complain that you don't want to be around me?
Right.
So I hope that we kind of bring a perspective of like, no, the point is to understand better because I think
Mm.
the goal is that men and women want to be together, not apart.
Right.
So it just doesn't make sense to me why we dog each other on the internet and
Right.
then complain that someone they don't want to commit or anyway, I can go forever on that. But
Mm.
I'll just start here. So we had a conversation and we were talking about lists and stuff, and you had asked me what are some things that were on my list, in my 20s versus like my late 20s and then
Right.
through till now. And I have said that my lists have changed definitely over the years. It doesn't mean they have grown longer or shorter, but they have changed. The items, some got deleted, some got added,
Right.
um, and some were simplified. But then you asked me, out of all that stuff that I ever wrote down, what would be the one thing if I had to put one thing on there? And my answer was, well, I don't know. Do you remember what my answer was?
The one thing that you said, did you say, oh man, this is a quiz. I believe you said for him to know who he is.
Yeah, that's exactly what
You
I
said
said.
for him to know who he is,
Yeah,
because when you know who you are, yeah, it's profound. I know it's tattooed on my heart that you will know that he knows who he is because like you're able to walk freely in that, and then he's able to let you be who you are, who God created you to be.
absolutely 100%. And it had nothing to do with his bank account.
Mm.
Usually it had nothing to do with what he had on his feet, what he was wearing, what is if he needed a lineup at the barber or whatever. Because we know who he is. I honestly don't care about that because everything else falls under that.
Right.
And, I'm not trying to push him into a certain career, yada yada yada.
Mm.
So like you said, the reason I said that is because I am getting, I am learning more and more who I am, and actually not just accepting it, but embracing it and actually loving it and enjoying it.
Right.
So I don't want to, and I guess my fear, if I had one, is that when a woman is at that place, that maybe a man finds, this is what I've heard, finds that they're not needed to come save my day, save the day.
Mm.
So my question to you is, number one, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the main question underlying that is, what is it, if anything, that would stop a man from approaching a woman?
Right off the rip, just right away, right? Like,
Hmm?
just okay.
And
I think
I'll go layers under that, but I don't want to be leading your answer.
right. I think there's a list, right? To me, there's a balance in everything. Bring up that word again. There's a balance in everything that, as a woman, I want you to be strong and independent. I
Okay.
want that. Like, I love seeing that. I love seeing that strength. I love seeing the fact that you're just not waiting to have codependency. I love the fact that you have initiative. I love the fact that you have goals. I love the fact that you have passions,
Mhm.
even things that are not the passions that I have. For example, I don't like painting, but if you said like, oh man, I love to have paint nights every Wednesday and stuff like that, like, how can I push you forward and thrust you forward into that passion?
Gotcha.
Even though I'll try it. I can tell you right now how bad it's going to be.
Yeah.
Stick figures was hard for me. But I would love to see that individual passions. But
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. That's the balance part of it. I think there is I wouldn't say a turnoff. I would say a bit of a, what's the point when women take the whole, I am so strong, I am so mighty, I don't need no man, such and such and such. Like, when you give off that vibe, I'm like, listen, like, I'm not saying at no point in time for me as a man, I'm like, hey, I'm not saying you need me. I'm not saying I want you to be in a point where you're giving off the feeling of, oh, I am dying for my knight in shining armor. I'm not saying that, but there's a difference between you being strong and independent in the way that you are,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that whole I'm an independent woman, I don't need no man, is like repellent. It's like, okay, but if you don't need one, like, are you looking? Like, I'm confused at this point.
Well,
Is it a
because the word independent got used in two different ways. So when you say that vibe, what does that vibe look like? What does that mean?
so let me tell you the independent that I like then. The independent that I like is the fact that you don't need somebody to enable you to go get what you're gonna get.
Okay.
You're a go-getter. You don't need somebody to hold your hand in order to get up and pursue your goals.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the words, once again, y'all gonna find out a lot about my musical background, at least if anything in this show. But you a movement by yourself, but you a force when we together.
Preach, Reverend Neo.
That's what I want. You a movement by yourself, but we are forced when we together. I mean, the reason why that's appealing is because it's not like there's no movement before me.
Gotcha.
Now I'm just pushing you to do anything. Like, you're a freaking couch potato. Like, you waiting for me to get up and because you have people like that. Like, you have people who are you have women that are so submissive, even men that are so submissive.
Whoa, don't say that word yet. We got to get to that, because that's a cuss word. Shouldn't be.
Let me use passive then. You're
go.
so passive.
Lazy.
Or lazy, that you literally need a person, whether that's a significant other, whether that's a friend, whether that's a sibling, whatever it is, to literally push you to do the things that you said you want to do.
Right.
Not that I said I want for you. You said you wanted to get up and work out. I have to come physically peel you off the couch in order for you to do what you said you wanted to do.
I got you.
That's an issue. That's an issue.
So when you say the independent, that's the independent that you like. So you let me just, I'm learning communication skills, everybody. So one thing I learned is check for understanding. So I'm going to
Right.
repeat what you said in the words that my brain heard them. So you're
Okay.
saying basically the independent that you like is someone who's ambitious,
Yes.
I won't say goal oriented, but actually um, working toward the goal actively.
Mm-hmm.
And when you use the word independent, it's more like if you say that you're going to do something, you're working toward it
Mm-hmm.
without having to have somebody to constantly, not an encourager, but like you didn't do anything until somebody was in your face telling you to do it constantly over and over. So somebody who's ambitious, who's a go-getter, who handles business basically,
Right.
somebody who's grown.
That's what I was about to say. Like often I would equate that to being grown. That's something that you
Right.
learn when you come from a child to a grown up. But I realize that that's not as easily as said these days.
I got you.
Um, there's a lot of grown ups who still need their hand held, and that's a hard life to live. And for them, I hope you find the one that you're looking for. But for me, at my
Pray.
house, yeah,
Blessings to you. So what's the
exactly.
so you said so the other extreme would be I'm so independent, I don't need anything from anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I wonder what the word independent actually means because to me that's not there's a difference between self-sufficient and I don't want to depend on anyone
Right.
because or I don't need anyone. I put it like that because we all need somebody to depend on at some point because nobody's always up. Nobody always wants to do what
Right.
they said to do. But I just feel like that narrative of I don't need no man because I remember one time I I told someone in my family they had asked me how I was doing and things how things were going. I was like, "No, I'm doing good. You know, things are moving along. Well, don't you turn to them one of them girls that said they don't need no man." I said, "How did we jump to that?" Like, I never said that actually in my whole life. I've never said
Right.
that because I know for me that that's not true because I very much like men. Okay, let's put that
Right.
out. But I was like, just because I said I'm okay, how did you literally right after I said that, you told me don't turn into one of them girls that say they don't need no man. And I was like, is that you that concerned that I'm gonna turn into that? Because
So
I'm not crying right now?
because it's two different sides. It's that one that I just explained to you that you're a goal getter, you go and you get your stuff. That's the type of independent that you like. But the way that culture perceives the other type of independent is that I don't need no man, which sounds like a response to hurt. Like you got so tired of being hurt that not only do you not need no man, you don't need nobody or no nothing or no handouts, no support, no nothing. You doing it all by yourself as a response to hurt. And to me, when I hear a girl say that, it's like, nah, you haven't dealt with you. You
But here's
haven't dealt with you.
crazy. I think that person assumed that I was talking out of my hurt because of how hurt that I had been. But
Mm-hmm.
I was literally just saying, I'm doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. And I think what I'm hearing and what I'm kind of getting at before I was prepared to get there is I think that do you think that sometimes we're projecting our measures of hurt on other people where they should be based on what I know about what they've been through because
Hands down.
that person that called to check on me because of something I had been through in a relationship
Mm-hmm.
and that was a good day. And I actually was doing the work. I was in counseling and I literally was. All I said was, I'm doing good. I'm okay.
Right.
And they flipped to what they assumed I was dealing with. And out of the kindness of their heart was warning me not to become one of them women. And I
Right.
had no intention of becoming one of that women. Because I'll say it like this, let me go and put some more business out. When someone asked me when I was I won't say going through my divorce was over. But someone asked me, would you get married again? And I was like, yeah. I never equated that to that one situation to all situations. And I thank God
Yeah.
I did. I never been that kind of person, because people are people, individuals are individuals, and
Mhm.
situations, although they're connected, are not, they don't have to define the next one.
Right.
I hear what you're saying, because some people will, out of, like you said, they respond out of the hurt that they still feel, like it's still
Mhm.
active and running through their body. I can't deal with it no more. I don't want, that ain't for me.
Right. And as we talked about before, I think people react also off of not only how they, process their hurt, or
Right.
the way that they think that you're processing your hurt, but also, um, a lot of people, more than not that I've crossed, they operate off a worst case scenario. And
Mhm.
so they always try to deter you from that worst case scenario. In their mind, what could be the worst case scenario? You going into the I don't need no man and just going on your tirade. I have people who they just they're amazing people. People are amazing. They're different. And they just operate off of their philosophy, even in other people's lives.
Absolutely.
So I have people who I love who has been married and divorced. And they're like, no, never again,
Yeah.
never again.
Yeah.
And I would say a large portion of those people um, does not see a full scope of the intention of marriage.
Right.
They don't see a full scope of the intention of marriage. What they see is what the humans have done. The
What marriage?
humans
Yeah.
have brought that into there. The humans has brought, oh, the dysfunctional look of marriage. We put that blemish on there. Um, so it's hard to it's hard to return to that, because what you're probably seeing is social media, TV, drama shows. Don't get me on drama shows. Please don't get me on drama shows. Like I was beefing with Tyler Perry for a minute, because I was like, bro, I had seen like 4 Tyler Perry movies and I ain't seen one marriage make it. Like like not one. What is going on? Um,
Don't sell
but
tickets. We love you, Tyler, though. Call us if
we
you.
do. We love you for sure. Like, listen, you got a movie. I'm trying to.
I'll walk.
It was 2 things they talked about with Tyler Perry movies, and I came up on Tyler Perry when it was the plays first. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't even a movie yet; it was plays. It's 2 things that they talked about. One, no marriage ever got, like, it never stayed. It wasn't a happily ever after. And 2, the dark skins was always the enemies. The dark skinned dudes was the enemies. The light skinned dude will slide in there. How you doing? Shamar Moore, like, how you doing? I know you're going through some things. Let me, like, yeah, those was the 2 things we talked about. But because of media, because of what we see, because of what we hear in this music, like I had, and I'm gonna be quick with this, and I'm probably confessing something for the first time. Um, Beyonce, if you listen to this, I love you. But I had an issue with Beyonce for a while. And this is why. Not so much because of necessarily her music, but what her music was inspiring in people. Like I know so many people who say, "Oh, I don't need no man such and such and such," but they was like, "Oh, Beyonce said I'm a queen. I don't need no such and such and such and such." And so, to me, the opposite of Beyonce, or the counterpart, the male part, was Young Jeezy. I loved Young Jeezy. All right, I loved, like, I listened to Young Jeezy all the time, but then I realized both of them was talking about things in their songs that they were no longer doing.
Yeah.
Beyonce was saying that she was a strong, independent woman. Didn't, like, basically this was what her songs was like, kind of given to girls. I don't need no man. I'm a strong, independent woman. You're happily married.
Yeah.
Jeezy was saying, trap or die. It's all about the money. It's all about the dough. Go get the dough, stuff like that. You're a family man. You drop your son off to school.
Yeah. All of them.
Your life is not what your music is like going out there and portraying. Don't get me wrong, Jeezy, Beyonce, y'all cool. I love y'all. I love, like, listen, I told you, I listened to a lot of hours. But at the same time,
Yeah.
it was saying one thing, but their real life, everyday life, looks totally different.
But here's the thing with that, and we can go on a tangent and talk about, we'll definitely have some conversations about music. But the thing with that is human beings have to understand that entertainment and real life are never the same.
Right.
And sometimes things are just fun to think about. And sometimes artists will write songs because they know who's going to consume.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And also the age people were when that stuff came out, people took it like, oh, that's Bible. I want to be like that. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but kind of back to what I was trying to get at is what what is it that stops a man, or yeah, stops a man from approaching. So let's say this is, you don't even know much about her, so you don't know she talking that I'm an independent woman stuff. I don't
Right.
even. So what is the vibe? So how do you know those things? So are you looking through her social media posts? Are you like how do you know, if you just see somebody and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, okay, I like how they look, I like how they walk, I like how they're talking, I like whatever.
Right.
Or it could be somebody you do know. But what is it that is like, okay, well, let me go ahead and approach it and say hello, or I was about to, but
Right. And
so when I
I'm
say vibe, it's like what are the nonverbal? Because you haven't had a conversation yet.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, you're right.
so that's why I'm saying, like, what is a vibe? What does that look like when it's a go ahead, even if it's not the independence conversation? I only brought that up because I personally feel or assume that my confidence can be perceived as intimidating,
Right.
when in fact my confidence is something that takes a lot of work, because I'm actually not as confident as I come across. So
Right.
what is the vibe,
Right.
the nonverbals?
Um, I I personally I am a maybe I'm not as adventurous as other people. In the sense of a big part of the way that I approach women
You're not,
in general. What'd you say?
when you say adventure, does that mean you're not a shooter of the shot? Is that
I
what you mean?
shoot the shot, but I'm
Okay,
calculated. You know what I mean? Like
got you.
if we playing basketball, I'm just not forcing shots up. Like, nah, I'm gonna wait until I'm gonna play within the offense. Like we gonna
I got
get a good shot. This shot gonna be open. Um, I don't know how many passes you got to make. I don't know how many passes times you got to pass in order to get that open shot. We gonna get that open shot. But I have to see people operate. And so to me, it means a lot to me that not only are you, let's say that does end up turning into a relationship.
Mhm,
It's not only important to me that you're good with me, it's important to me the way you treat other people.
absolutely.
And so as I see you dialogue, if you're open to dialogue with your friends, with the people who you already have established relationships with,
Mhm,
um, like if I see that dialogue, that to me makes me want to then, okay, I can come up and approach this person. Why? Because there's a difference between you got your headphones on all the time with your hood up and you ain't talking to nobody.
right.
There's a difference from that to, okay, she does have people who she walks in with often. She does have friends who I can tell you that even if I don't personally even know her name, oh yeah, I see her with the same two or three people, every now and then. So I know at least she has close relationships,
Right.
or what can seem like a close relationship, because I see her with the same two or three people all the time. That
Mhm,
to me is attractive. That's amazing. Like I want you to have, and you're only as good as your community it pushes you to be. Like you can't just live in isolation. This ain't Castaway with Tom Hanks. You're just not on an island with a volleyball named Wilson. No, like you are with people. You're living with people. And so, what I like to do is I like to watch people in their community. In order
gotcha.
for me to shoot a shot, I like to watch people in their community. What is the things that I can tell from afar that is important to you? If you're hanging out with the same two or three people, I know that you invest in relationships. There's no
Mhm,
way that you'll have tight knit relationships like that if you wasn't investing some way or somehow.
right.
If you in the church, let's say we're going to the same church and I don't even really know you. There's girls like that in my church now. I don't really know. Like churches can be big or small. It doesn't matter. If you're in the church with 3,300 or 30 people, you're not going to have deep relationships with everybody. So let's say you don't know them like that. What are they doing with their time? Are they willing to help out with such and such?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying all the time. I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to only be attracted to the best server. No, I'm saying like you did not have to stay here and clean up, but you
Mm-hmm.
did.
Yeah.
Like those things, going the extra mile for people, like those things matter. And so I have to watch you from afar. And then like at that point in time, you start to see glimpses, characteristics of, man, like I don't necessarily know how she invests into people's relationships or into the relationships that she has,
Mm-hmm.
but I know there's some investment there. Now I'm like, oh, let me approach her. Let me dive deeper. I don't
So
know how.
for you is you're so this goes back to the narrative that we I don't know if people use this out of church, but I'm a church kid, whatever. The hunter, right? So the man is the hunter, and that does not mean everything he sees he pounces on and gobbles
Right.
it up.
Right.
So that means he is scouting. He is looking at tendencies. He is looking at like you said, use the word characteristics. But you're watching from afar because a good hunter don't just run behind the bush. Hey, hey, come here. Hey, hey, what's your name?
Right.
Because let me
Exactly.
say, man, please calm down. Okay.
Yeah. Everything that look good ain't good.
After me, you don't have to yell from the other aisle or across the parking lot. I'm scared when you do that. When you're a hunter is loud, the animal runs away.
Right. Facts.
This is why you are striking out. So can you guys don't
It takes some tact. It takes an approach. And at the same time, and this is just my level of standard, at the same time, if I value this woman in general, this is my standard. If I value this woman in general, the same way you do the same way I see reporters doing interviews and all this other stuff, please know who you in the room with. Like, just don't walk up to people thinking it's a one size fits all the way that you approach people. Like, understand who this woman is, or at least something. Everything that look good ain't good. Like, I'm telling you, and no, once again, like McDonald's, if you wanted to give me a lifetime warranty, a lifetime, supply of fries, I'm with you. But I don't eat like they burgers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when I'm hungry, does a McDonald's burger look good? Yes. We're not going to get into the whole nutrition and all this other stuff, but everything that necessarily look good ain't good. You can't just go all willy-nilly. And so as a hunter, I will describe myself as such. My favorite season is rabbit season. Okay. Now I'm over here hunting and it's my job to come prepared to hunt said rabbit. Like, so it's different. You bring different ammo.
What they eat, what they like.
See, here's the thing though. Like with rabbit, you just got to be patient. Okay. They fast. You can miss them. They got stuff to do. Like it's like you're not putting a bait out there. You literally you go and if you know anything about rabbit hunting, like you go to a place, you sit and you wait. You sit and you wait. Exactly. And so it's my job to hunt, right? And so if you bring a shotgun to hunt a rabbit, when you're eating said rabbit, and we're just talking about the hunting, it's going to have multiple pellets in this mug if you actually eat it, if you actually get to it. You've almost ruined it by what you're hunting with. Right. If you bring a bow, chances are you ain't catching that mug. Yeah. You're going to miss every time. Rabbits are fast. And so the appropriate hunt requires for the appropriate tools to approach it. And the certain tact, the waiting, the patience. And so I like to say that. So yes, it's my job to come prepared in order to hunt, but it is the girl's job to shake the bush. Let me know that a rabbit is behind that bush. Okay. Slow down, preacher. Because some of us are slow. We need to check for understanding. So you said a lot. So back to the McDonald's comment. So would you say it's safe to say don't hunt when you're starving? Or don't ride by McDonald's, or don't go grocery shopping on an empty stomach? No, you can't do that. You setting yourself up for failure.
You're setting yourself up because now everything starts to look good.
And you settling.
And you settling because you just need to satisfy that hunger.
Mm-hmm.
I won't take a poll. Don't raise your hand if it's not you. But how many times have you been so hungry,
Mm.
so
Mm.
tired of waiting till lunchtime, so thirsty? I take that back because I got another philosophy on thirst. But starving yourself, and then you said, "I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait."
Mm-hmm.
But now you haven't fed anything, and now the next thing that walked by is about to get the next fast food joint I see, I'm pulling over.
Devoured. But here's the thing too, like that goes both ways, right? Because like we we also do that in terms of the dating world. Girls, I'm gonna speak to y'all. Y'all can murder me in the comment section for this, and I'm okay with that. But I'm just telling you, I'm basing things not off of what I think, off of what I hear.
Come on.
Girls will get into, and it's crazy. I think it's crazy. Let me start by saying that girls will get into their late 20s, not late 30s, not 40 over. Girls will get into their late 20s and talking about, I need to find a man. Time is running out. I can only reproduce for so long, and it's only healthy to have a baby until 35. I can say it's like all this other stuff, all this other stuff, all this other stuff. And now I'm like, listen, the moment you start pushing the pace and trying to rush things is the moment you're gonna find yourself in a situation that maybe after you get in the situation, you're like, man, maybe I shouldn't have got myself in this situation. Those are the times. For guys, it's the same thing. It's like we have this innate a desire to not only be in a marriage and a relationship that's long and healthy. Yes, that's what we want, right? But we want her to look fine. We want her to look fine.
That's understood.
We want her to look fine, but not only do we want her to look fine, we do think, and I know a lot of guys, especially my age, when you get into those early 30s, where you're like, I do want to physically be able to play catch with my son.
Yeah.
I want to physically be able to go see all of my daughter's recitals, choirs, all this stuff. I want to be capable and able-bodied to do these things. And so now you're rushing against time, and you're anything and everything. Like you start with the dating profiles. They got ones for farmers, Christians, nightlife. They got a dating app for everything that you can think of. Yeah. And you just consume because you're just trying to find something.
Yeah. So, and the reason I brought that up, okay, so that was one. You start settling when you get too hungry. Which, to me, I used to say that, don't be too thirsty, but because you mentioned it, because you said now the rabbit gotta shake the bush and let me know she over there. So the reason I changed my stance on the thirst of it all is because I think it's okay to be honest and be like, yeah, there's a thirst. Why am I'm not gonna act like I'm not gonna act like I got everything that I desire when I have a thirst for this area over here. I want to have a successful relationship, marriage with a heterosexual male. Okay. And I think it's okay to say that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. What I'm saying is when you get to the point where you're in desperation, where you feel like I can't wait any longer, or I got to do something, I gotta make some stuff happen, I think it gets a little tricky and a slippery slope.
Right.
And I won't go into what those things have to happen are, because that's different for everybody. But speaking of the hunt, how does a woman or the rabbit, how do they let you know? Is it more of let me allow him to approach, let me not put up walls, or is it I can let me go say hello because he keep looking over here, let me just go say hello? Is that it, or is it let me shoot then?
Man, I am so fed up with I don't know, it's kind of like a game that we play that nobody told us the rules to this game.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody even told us that this was a game, but yet and still we play this game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're not allowed. The rule of the game, one of the rules is that you're not allowed to speak your intentions to the other person. Like it's like a secret. I hold some of my cards back and forth and stuff like that. And I'm like, I I I used to do it.
Yeah.
I
Same.
used to do it for sure. But now I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, nope, that makes no sense. Like I would rather be forthcoming with my intentions or desires or a desire for a pursuit,
Yeah.
than to play this cat and mouse game of, oh, I'm looking at him. Is he looking at me? Oh, I'm gonna walk past and wink or smile, and then that's gonna give him the hint to like, no, that is stupid. That is so stupid.
I'm gonna like everything posted for the past 6 months.
Yeah, he didn't get the hint. I walked past him and smiled. What? No, like, let me tell you this, girls, and I'll say it. Guys are slower than you think. We are slower than you think. Some of those subtle hints, we don't speak this language of subtle, so we don't get it. You can think that you're
period.
It's different languages for sure. So I am okay. I am personally okay. I've had girls before in the past that I've respected, even if it didn't turn into a date or anything else. I've respected so much because they was like, hey, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm very into you. And like they just came out and said it. And I'm like, I respect that. I really do respect that because you don't want to go around the rosy, ring around the rosy trying to figure out what's going on. And so, but that gives me as a man, like, I don't think that she's pursuing me with saying that. I think she's making her.
That's a bigger statement than I think you realize.
Okay.
Because, let me tell you why. And this is why we don't speak the same language. What you just said is huge because I can guarantee you that everything you said right before that, every woman listening to this was like, I ain't finna pursue no man, but we ain't supposed to pursue. I thought they told us not to pursue. But that is why said game that you mentioned is because in our minds, especially if you a church kid, doing anything like that equals pursuit. I'm not saying that I subscribe to that personally,
right,
or I'll say that I have been freed from that before, but that is something that's very tricky for women who have been raised a certain way, or if they look at the man a certain way.
Right.
I do that. What will he think of me? Will he think I do that with everybody? Will he think that I'm always, because if somebody is confident enough to come at you with the example you gave, that would lead me to believe, and that's in my woman mind, because that's the only mind I got, that would lead me to believe that ain't her first time doing that. So as a woman, what holds us back is he's going to think that I always do this because I didn't walk up there with my head down and I had something to say. That's what women think. So that's why it feels like a game, but it's really like, I want to tell them I'm interested, but I don't want to be that girl.
Yeah, that I don't subscribe to that at all. Like that conversation don't even happen because, like, think about this. If you see, this is from a guy's point of view. If you see a solid girl, like, you know, she's solid, like you've been navigating, you've been seeing her around, and she came up and did that, kind of like that example. For example, I know that you're not doing that all the time. You know why? Because you would have been wifed up by now. If you did that all the time, you're solid. Like you're telling me who you are, you're solid and all this other stuff, and you're not at the finish line already, and you've been walking up to people like that. Nah, it's impossible. Something just don't add up. Something just don't add up. You would have been wifed up, or maybe this is what I think, that girls have to go through so much to get to that point. I believe even the most forward girls that I know have to go through so much. They have to deny themselves almost. Take that pride aside and forget all of that stuff that you just mentioned and say, no, I'm gonna go and make my intentions known. Secondly, it takes a lot for somebody, not only a girl, but anybody in general, to put themselves out there like that. When you put yourself out there like that, you are literally offering yourself up for either a rejection, I know that's a hard word,
Real word though.
or a you're offering yourself up for rejection, or for it to go the way that you want. I had one of my friends, and I'm not gonna say no names. They walked up to me and said that.
Okay.
They walked up to me and said that I'm not even sure if this friend remembers having this conversation at this point. Maybe she do, maybe she don't. I don't know. She do probably. But she had that conversation with me, and she said it, and I was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like there's not very many relationships in my life that is amazing as our friendship that we have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see us pursuing a romantic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be very forthcoming with you about that, because I want to continue this friendship that we had. It's
Gotcha.
amazing. Like we've been like I don't want to mess that up. Like I'm not going to sit up here and act like this relationship didn't. But I mean, I'm not going to act like this conversation didn't happen. So we're not going to sit up here and be in denial like it didn't happen. Let's just forget about it. No, we're going to say that this is where we are, and if we need to draw some lines, right? It's not a bad thing. We can draw some lines. That if I was giving you the impression that I wanted to take that, there are some things that I need to not do. There are some things that I need to do instead of like not even in pursuing. You can, if there is male and female relationship, I believe that there's an amount of guarding the heart that needs to happen.
100%.
Because I need to not put forward the vibe that I want you when I'm just being, and for me, it's easy to do. And I'm going to say that it's easy to do because I am so a people person. I want people to be validated. I believe whether it's a friend, my sister, a niece, no matter what, I believe that women are queens. And I want to not only be like with you in the world, but I want to build you up. So you know that you are worth it so much more. And so when I sit up here and I say that to a friend and say like, no, you're a queen. You're beautiful, amazing, smart, and all these other things, trying to build you up. You can see that as flirting. And I'm like, no, I need you to know your worth. So when that said person do come along, you realize that you're a freaking Maserati. You ain't no little Hyundai out here. You're Maserati. Please act as such. And so it can come off a little weird like that, but having that conversation, we continue to be friends. We continue to like go deeper in our relationship. She continued to look out for me when it was potential, relationships brewing up. And she even then turned into the person that was a filter for me, where it was like, oh, I like Ren such and such and such. And she like, nah, that wouldn't work. Nah, you just like, you in a nice way. It just wouldn't I wouldn't go that route. And it's beautiful. But it needs to happen. That conversation to me can only illuminate. So I love the fact that God, and I'm about to preach it, y'all. Sorry. God is a God of clarity. He's a God of peace. So many times you hear about God and his truth being shown as light in the Bible. Light brings clarity, light brings vision, and all this other stuff. When you bring stuff and shine a light on things, and you can live within that light, and it's not stuff that you're hiding back in the dark, it makes relationships so much better. We have an understanding as to where we both are. We could be, I believe in, and we talked about this a little bit before offline. I believe in you can be the right person the wrong time. I believe in I kind of met you maybe sooner before I ripened. Like I can think back to people where it's like, man, like there's girls that I was around in my early 20s that like, I was way more mature than me. I was definitely not in a time in life where I could either receive anything that y'all was anything.
I've been there.
And vice versa. And vice versa. Like there's girls that I was like, man, like I literally thought this. Like we could be the same exact age. And I'm like, man, like if you keep on the route that you on in the next 5 years, maybe something. But I'm not holding my breath for that. And you shouldn't hold your breath for that.
No.
So
that's good. No, that's really good. But that just shows how differently we think and perceive the same information. Because like you said, if somebody is affirming me and they happen to be male, it takes a lot of mental um maturity. It takes a
Mhm.
lot to decipher through that, because as a woman, and I don't know if y'all, this goes back to knowing who you are, because I really believe social media in the world will tell you that we only want uh how about this, the question, well, what are you bringing to the table? That bull. Slow down. um
Mm. Yeah.
because I really, I think if men knew who they really are and how we really see you, it would be impossible for you to think that we only want you for money. It would be impossible.
Mm.
It would be so opposite of the truth, because it is the opposite of the truth.
Right.
Everything, and it comes from who, when I say knowing who you are, knowing who really, what God made you to be. I'm not talking about a career. I'm not talking about a function of a church. I'm not talking about um how the style of music you like, or um your personality type even. The fact that you are a man
Mm.
is most of it, because your words are so valuable. And I'm talking about whether it's a friend, it's a father, a son, a pastor who's a man, anything like that. I could say, um, for example, if I have a spiritual leader who is in the age range of a father or a grandfather,
Mhm.
if he comes to me and says, "You're doing a good job. I'm really proud of you," that will probably stay. That 0.2 second sentence will probably stay with me for the rest of my life, and I'll remember what I had on. I
Mm.
remember what he had on. I remember where we were standing in the room when he said it, and I remember what day of the week it was. Simply because he is a man of leadership in my life.
Right.
That's it. So if there is a young man, I'll just say a man of my similar age range, and he affirms me using your example and says all these great things, it takes something out of a woman to be like, it's literally, it's just that he's affirming me, because that's just
Mm.
the kind of person he is. So it takes for me, or the woman that you're talking to, a lot, because of how valuable your words are as a man, period.
Mm. Yeah.
Without me knowing your credit score, without me knowing how much you got paid on your last check, without
Mm.
me knowing whether you rent or own, all of that stuff is literally, that is not what makes what you say important. It's
Right.
literally what you said. That's why it's so important that men are in homes with their families.
Yes.
I have to say that,
Yes.
because men are hearing messages that are not coming from our mouths. And the world is telling you that we're saying it, and we're not.
Mm.
We do want you there.
Yeah.
As bad as you are, it takes a lot for us to get to the point where we don't.
Yeah.
Your presence is everything, and your words are even more. So when you say things like that, that's why it takes a lot for a woman to be like, "Oh, it wasn't that," because your words are safety for us.
Right.
And usually you ain't gonna just say something haphazardly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it takes a lot. So we do think differently. But of course, like you said, have the conversation, move on. Now we've got clarity, we know where we at. But
Right.
I just wanted to put that out there, that I don't know that you guys realize how important you are to us, and to how our worlds function in general. Um, it's super, super, super valuable.
Right.
And that's why women struggle with, let me make sure that didn't mean that.
Right. And that's something that needs to be said. I will never, and this is something I'm not gonna say never. This is something I find myself, and I'll end on this because I know we went a little bit over y'all, but this is something I need to tell y'all
Mm-hmm.
that I want to make it a part of my life that I never dim the light
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of a misunderstanding. And this is what I mean by that. Like, I will explain to you everything of where that heart is coming from if you want to have that conversation. But is it truth that you are worth more than silver and gold? Yes. Whether you're a man or you're a woman, I want you to know that. That's the truth. Is it true that you are beautifully and wonderfully made? Yes. Whether you're a man or a woman, I want you to know that. And so me and the way that I walk and operate life is like, no, like if this becomes a God thing, right? Like if the Spirit puts it on my heart to tell you that, like, hey, you need to know that today. I want you to know today that you're worth it. I want you to know that today, that maybe some days you wake up and you don't feel beautiful, but you are beautiful. Some days you don't feel like you're worth it, but you're worth it. Some days you don't feel like you're qualified, but let me tell you, the place where you're in is the best place to start any journey that you could ever want to go on. And like, those are the things that we need to tell people, like speak life and speak love, no matter the situation. You should not, and this goes back to dating, you should not have to be romantically interested in someone to say those things.
You should not, but
you should not. Man. But that's the reality that we in. I know we went a little bit long today, but I do want to continue, and we want to get on another. I think we're going to have another dating 101. I think at this point it's probably 105. We're going to have another dating episode. We need to. That was some good stuff. Just continue to iron out what is the language that we perceive. When you say something, what is the language that you perceive when we say something, and kind of deciphering the communication, because like you'll be surprised how much it is a language barrier.
It is, and that is the whole purpose of this conversation. Like I said at the top, it makes no sense to me why we would dog people that we say we want. I'm not running to your arms if the foundation is everything I've done wrong, even though it wasn't actually me. I can't do that. And I cannot accept that you think the first thing I'm going to ask you is how much you make when I'm not. That's not me. And if that's not the type of woman you want, why are you even listening to that? That's not even in your, if that's not, has no chance of being your future, why are you even consuming?
This is true.
That doesn't make sense. It should be conversations like this. When you say this, I hear this. Am I off? Yes. When I say this is what I meant. Oh, I didn't even know that. How are we going to get people? How are we going to get all these young single people that say they want to be married if they don't talk to each other? I don't need to know what all men think. Right. I don't need to know all men's favorite food. Just one. I don't need to know his all his likes and dislikes. I don't need to know how he thinks. I just need to learn one man. I need stuff, but I'm not trying to marry everybody. So I don't need a guru telling me men think like this. I just need the simple basics. And then when the one that I want to invest in comes along, then I'll dig deeper. But I don't listen. Whatever his credit score is, we'll deal with that one. I don't need to know all of y'all. Okay.
Hallelujah. That was a mic drop.
Listen, I just, it's been on my mind for so long, and I just wish we would be realistic. I think we've intellectualized relationships to the point of no end, and we need to get back to just being people. We do. And if you want to know me and what I think about something, ask me. Don't ask an influencer that you don't know. Right. Because you don't know me either. And I'm not like every other woman. So if you want to know, just ask me. I'm not going to kill you. I'm actually going to be delighted that you asked. And then, so I'm going to stop there because, yeah.
Mic is dropped. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us in the 7-part podcast with Ren and Didi. We're going to continue to keep wrapping this up. We thank you guys for being far along with us this far along in the game. But if you have any thoughts, any thought processes on anything we talked about today, what does it look like to communicate back and forth? If you're a female, would you take that first step as a guy who's hunting? Or are you hunting and you preparing with the right tools? So we'll love to know that in the comment section. But until next time, Didi, you got to sign off?
Just thank you for joining us. Don't forget to follow each of us. He's at Hollywood_R_B. I'm at Adidria_is. And you can also follow the podcast at at set apart underscore, sorry, at set_apart_ podcast, because all the simple ones were taken. I'm so sorry. And then and share our channel on YouTube, which is just Set Apart Podcast.
Without a doubt. So have a lovely day. A lovely day. Peace out, guys.
Hey, this is your girl Dee Dee from Set Apart with Ren and Dee Dee. Thank you so much for tuning in to this latest installment. Don't forget to subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts.